about leadership is you gotta literally seek it out, right? I remember being in the office between Schleiman and Charlie A, and I was right in the middle. I said, man, I'm part of this. I'm gonna be Ironton, right in the middle, right? When Ironton was a nobody, I wanted to be a somebody. I put myself in between two somebodies, and with a one-day hope of being just like them. Just appreciate that. Shleiman, you've done a lot of stuff for my career. The quality of relationship you have with you and Michelle, and all that stuff, the great dad you are, inspires me a lot, and also a bunch of you here. So I want you guys to give it up for our fearless leader, Dan Charlier.
Great job.
We have, we just, the company has we have Tiger School, right, where the company actually has the top 30 SMBs in the entire company compete for Tiger School. I mean, I've been to Tiger School, and so has the majority of the leaders up here. And they just announced the winners of Tiger School, and we have two people on Synergy Financial that actually qualified, and won, right? Within that, you're competing with the entire company. So one of them was Team Tenacity, Jay and Veronica. Come on up, you guys. Based on the history of Tiger School, you guys, these are your next CEOs, next EVCs, next seven-figure earners right here. Right? So they're competing with the entire company, which is amazing. So give them a round of applause. Great job, you guys. If I can have all the CEOs and EVCs come up on stage real quick. It's all the CEOs and EVCs. I'm not gonna spend a lot of time, but I wanna talk to you. Come on up, you guys. Nate, come on, Precious. Come on up, Precious. Own it, Precious. Own it. Take the spot. All right. So I wanna. There's something about our business that we always say that what makes WFG so powerful, you guys, is that we believe that there's not a test that can measure the heart of a man alone. Does that make sense? So we don't judge people here, right? And as you see these individuals, I remember Jeff Brookshire, right? And Jeff and his wife. Jeff had a job, right? He had a job in corporate America, right? He was working for Target, right? And he was your executive at Target, and he was the person that when you looked at Target was making a couple of $100,000 a year, and he looked the part that you said, oh my God, this is, because me being in the Marines, I would look at someone like him because he was in corporate America, right? He was making a six-figure income. But at the end of the day, he had a job, right? He had a job, all the stuff that we talked about. So at some point, right? His wife saw the opportunity and had a conversation with him about joining WFG, right? And it's interesting because when you're going through challenges, right, here's what's awesome about our business, because our business is built on environment. And Christopher and I were talking about a few minutes ago, we were talking about when we were in Chino, there were times that we would see Jeff and he looked like he wanted to quit. He looked like he just had one of those days where he's like, oh my God, is this worth it? Right? But we've all been through it. We've all had challenges. We've all had, I mean, you leave here, you're going to be on a high. As soon as you get in your car, there's certain challenges that happen. But what happens is that this couple had strong enough reasons why they were willing to fight to become free. Does that make sense? So there's a saying that if you can help enough people get what they want, right, then you get what you want. And then they went out, he made the key thing with Jeff and Michelle is this. They made a decision. The most important thing, if you read Think and Grow Rich, the most important thing that you must make, right? So there's got to be a time, because Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, not all day, and now you're jacked, right? You're excited. But if you don't make a clear decision that this is your shot at the big time, right? You'll go back to normal, right? So they made a decision. Once they made that decision, here's what you need to know about that decision. I make it or I die. Really that simple. They made that decision. So that's why they're here now. They're going from 500,000 to 1 million to 2 million to 3 million. They'll continue to go. Here's the thing. They're no different than you guys. If I spent a lot of time with Jeff and Michelle. We've been on Hawaii several times. Jeff chartered a yacht in St. Martin, went yachting, jumping off a yacht, and had some great times and enjoying life, right? Here's what this couple have in common. If you cut them open, they got the heart of a champion, just like you do. Does that make sense? And so then you look at Tita, right? Tita Lazan, right? Tita, right? Now you see, you guys, when I was saying at the convention that our business has a spirit. Does that make sense? Our business has a spirit, and sometimes the world crushes your spirit. The world tells you, you can't do this, you can't do that, a person like you can't live here, a person like you can't do this, right? So when Tita showed up here, right, her language to herself, remember what we talk about, the biggest conversations you're going to have with is the conversation you have with yourself, right? So when Tita showed up here, here's what she was saying to herself. She says, Paul, I'm in my late 50s. I'm too old. She says, Paul, my English is broken. No one can even understand me. She says, Paul, I work 2 shifts at the hospital, and I'm old, and I have a part-time gig, and I'm hustling here. I don't have time. So so for a year, she told herself that story, right? But in leadership, Paul, right, sees the goodness in her, right? And Paul looks at her and says, you're not too old, right? And Paul says, well, wait a minute. You're in your late 50s. If you continue to work like that the next 10, 15 years, how's that going to work for you, right? So Paul has a conversation with her to get to her to convention, right? So she comes to convention, and when she gets to convention, here's what she realized. She says, the story I was telling myself is not a true story. Because I saw someone on stage that looked like me. So she saw another Filipino that was a nurse, that was doing exactly broken English and all this stuff. And in the WFG environment, that lady made $250,000, and she said these magic words. She said, well, wait a minute. If she can do it, so can I. And she changed her mindset. Follow me on that? So once she changed her mindset, she made the decision. She just made the decision. And once she made the decision, literally you guys, she left the convention. I watched this right in front of my eyes. She went to S&P. She got her ring. She qualified for Hawaii. Everyone around her was inspired by her because she was inspired by herself. Does that make sense? So she had a leader that believed in her more than she believed in herself, right? But she's no different than any of you here, right? So give her a round of applause, right? Then you have Paul Ireton, right? I mean, like, it's the, come on up here, Nate. Come on up here, Nate. Like, these two, right? I was just looking at Paul's wedding picture, right? Because I went to his wedding. And literally, when I looked at their picture, you guys, like the Paul you see here and the Nate you see here is not the same Paul and Nate that I met. I mean, they look like they were like 14 years old in those pictures. I can't even imagine to tell you how many times I've screamed at Paul, I yelled at Paul, I've grabbed him, I think I choked him a couple of times. Like, it seems like almost every day I was pulling him to the side and just yelling at him, right? Right? But here's the deal. Paul has worked on himself so much. The Paul Ireton you see now is not the same Paul Ireton that you guys started with, right? So these guys had real challenging backgrounds, right? They came from the Philippines. They grew up in poverty. They grew up in, what do they call that now? EBT. You guys know what EBT? In the 80s, they used to call it welfare. I don't know what it's called now, but what is it called? Food stamps? They still give food stamps? Do they give food stamps? See, you guys should know that. That makes sense? You guys should be, what are you talking about, Charlie? We ain't rolling like that, right? But these guys, I remember, listen to this, you guys, 6, 7 years ago, if I told Paul and Nate, I said, hey, I'm doing a barbecue at my house. I want you guys to bring your entire team over my house. They could barely get 6 to 7 people in my house. You realize that? But they've grown so much. They've grown so much. They've worked on themselves. Remember, we talked about our business is a personal self-improvement business tied to a high compensation, right? So as you're prospecting people, I want you to remember how powerful these stories are. And I remember when Paul, we used to do these lunch appointments, right? So I would say to the base, I would say, you book a lunch appointment, you bring 3 people, right? If those 3 people show up to the lunch, right, I will buy lunch and we'll do a one-on-one and we'll book appointments, right? So Paul sets up a lunch appointment and it was was it Thai restaurant in Amon and Azusa. See that? Thai restaurant in Amon and Azusa, right? And guess who shows up? The beauty queen here from the Philippines shows up. She's in jeans. She's looking sharp. Who is the other young lady? Lou, right? So there was this other lady, Lou. Lou was in the market. She owned a wedding. She did fashion design company and all of this stuff, right? And I remember when Miriam came into the picture, right? And I remember when Miriam decided to join the business, right? Paul recruited her, right? And let me tell you, Paul moves fast, man. He said, I just started dating. Next thing, oh, I'm getting married. Next thing, boom, now I got 1 kid, 2 kids, 3 kids, 4 kids, boom, right? And all this stuff, right? And they move so fast. And I've watched both of them as a couple. Both of them as a couple grow as a couple, right? And I've watched even the way they're with their kids, right? The way they spend time with their kids. And you know, one of the things that I would tell you is that, remember Steve Seaball said, what are you willing to die for, right? Here's what I know about Paul. Paul will die for his family. That makes sense? He will die for his family. There's nothing in the world that he will not do for Miriam and his kids. Like, that's what drives him. See, all of you have the same thing, right? So he links, when Paul's making phone calls, he links that to his family. When he's across the kitchen table, he links that to his kids and providing and setting an example. But this is a guy that started just like you, didn't think he could do it, all of this stuff happened. You know, I'll share this with you, right? Be very cautious about being critical with people, right? Successful people are usually screwed up in many different ways. But there's one thing that they're usually good at. Does that make sense? So if you got some issues, it's okay, right? But there's one gift that you have. I want you to focus on that gift, and it will work on all the other stuff as we're going. Does that make sense? So don't beat yourself up too much about it, right? So, and now they're the leaders of the dream givers, right? And then we have Nate and Precious. Come on up here, Precious. Come on up here, Precious, right? You have, I'm telling you, this couple here, this couple, they just look good, don't they? I mean, Precious just brought, you know, before Precious, Nate's game was there, but now that Precious is in the picture, my wife and I were talking, we're just like, Nate's just walking a little bit different now. You know what I mean? His shoulders just brought back. It's like, look at Nate. Yeah. You know, we used to always, Nate was usually the quiet one, right? Lily the quiet one. Remember we talked about everyone, you're one recruit away from an explosion, right? So there was a time when Nate, like, he was just a personal producer. He never recruited, right? And then he started recruiting, and his one recruit away from the explosion was Jeff and Michelle Brookshire, right? Literally, I saw Jeff and Michelle Brookshire come to Nate's business. Boom, Nate's business, just went to another level, right? Then I saw Precious. Now here's the thing. This is a power couple because they're both running base shops, right? So Precious got a base shop, right? I don't know if you see Precious, because here's the deal. Nate, you know, there's no ring yet, right? So there's no ring yet. So Precious is like, yo, there's no ring yet. I'm gonna get my own ring, right? So she's good, right? And Nate wants to know, hey, I want to know that you can get down. Does that make sense, Nate? I want to know that you can build a base shop, right? And same thing with Paul and Mary. They did the same thing. But listen, you guys, growing couples, it's time for a breakthrough. It's time for a breakthrough, right? So building great teams. But just like all of you here, they're working on themselves, they're growing, and we're work in progress, right?
I just want to mention this. I have to. Nate was stuck. Hold on. Nate was stuck. I'm going to mention this because it doesn't matter now when you're winning, right? Nate was stuck at 30 to 50,000 for 7-8 years, just so you know. That's what most people don't know. So if you're in here in the crowd and you feel like a freaking loser, you know what I mean? There's hope for you. Literally, Nate has evolved. I mean, he went through some painful cash flow gain. You know what I mean? We've been kicked out of rooms. I mean, we did the convention, our luggage is outside the room. You know what I mean? And we figured out, the rest was a blur because we don't even remember. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that.
So here's the deal. Here's the deal. There's a book called 3 Feet from Gold, and they interviewed some of the most successful individuals. And they asked them, see, it's not the peak. Everyone's excited at the peak, you guys. It's whether you can handle the valleys, right? So when they were going through the valleys, see, when you make a decision, when you're in the valley, you go, I either do it or I die. It doesn't matter where I'm in the valley, right? My back's on, I gotta look up, I gotta go for it. Quitting is not an option, right? So because quitting is not an option, they persevere through it, and they make it happen, right? Give them a round of applause. Then you have Louise Hay, right? Louise is like my foxhole buddy, right? I mean, this is my foxhole buddy right here. Louise was my first senior marketing director that I promoted, right? First senior marketing director that I promoted, right? Now listen to this, you guys. Listen to this. Louise had a very strong work ethic, right? Most of you know her story, right? But Louise's husband, David, owned a dental practice down in Irvine, right? And they did really well. They made a 7-figure plus income, right? They ran their own practice. And you know, sometimes when you you have a business, right? And I think David created a position for his wife, and Louise just managed the dental practice. So she was just on the phone, making sure clients come in, and David would pay her $35,000 a year just to make sure that, you know, all the clients were in, right? So when Louise got started here, you guys, I mean, she lived a totally different life, right? So most of us don't know what Coto de Casa is. Coto de Casa is like the Bel Air of Orange County, right? So in that circle, right, in that circle of the 2%, there's a certain way that people live, right? So when I first met Louise, right, she first came to her BPM. She had these big glasses. How many of us ever remember Jackie Kennedy? That's how Louise showed up to the BPM. She had her big glasses, right? She had a big hat on with a scarf, convertible, right? Convertible. Her husband, David, I was like, when they pulled up, I was like, did these people just get lost? Because literally, we had a little 10 by 10 office. I was so embarrassed about the office, right? I was like, oh my God, these people are coming here, right? I mean, we had no AC. The carpet was dirty. We had like metal chairs, right? We didn't even, we had an elbow. It wasn't even an elbow, it was an overhead. And half the time, when you turn on the overhead, the light bulb goes out and you got to slam it on the side. I mean, that's the BPM she came to, right? So her and David, right, they leave the BPM, they go, they just walk. I saw them walking away, they go, no, we can do this, right? So they were living in South Orange County, right? So they had to take the 5 to the 57 to the 60, which is an hour and 15-minute drive to come to a BPM, right? But they saw something. We sat down with them, right? Let's sit down with them, right, with a couple of accountants, did their financial needs analysis. David's best friend, you guys, was his insurance agent. His other best friend did all his securities. So after we did their financial, their F&A, right, we're able to save them so much money in taxes. David said to Louise, Louise, we thought financially we were in a good position. We didn't understand all of this stuff. And David says to Louise, hon, if we didn't have our stuff together, you could imagine all of our friends. I want you to do this business because of what it did for us, right? So in that process, David buys insurance, right? He buys long-term care, he buys variable universal life, all of this stuff, right? Louise starts the business part-time, right? I was part-time, right? I had all these guys from the Marines. They were like, oh man, Gunny, we're going to do this for 20 years. We're going to be your 7 to 10 and blah, blah, blah. And Louise used to be, like, imagine this is locker room talk, right? Because I'm in there with my base and there's all these Marines, all this testosterone. And Louise is in that room. Coto de Casa, right, is in that room. We're yelling and screaming, ah, and Louise in there, right? All of them quit, and she's still standing. Isn't that amazing? And Louise used to say, I want to change the world. I'm going to become the breadwinner of our family, right? And you never know how life changes. You never know how life changes. Circumstances changes, right? So David, for his entire life, had provided for his family, right? Raised Stephen, raised Lauren as his adopted as his own, provided for his family, and then he got sick, right? He got Alzheimer's, right? And the policy that when we did their financial needs analysis, the very policy that he bought, right? He bought a long-term care policy from Ronnie Lasky, which was one of my directs. Remember Ronnie? Ronnie sold her a long-term care policy, and that long-term care policy that she bought back then, right, is what is funding David's $9,000 a month for 4.5 years, that policy. What's that? And then never give up. So he's got carte blanche treatment from one policy that he bought back when we recruited him, right? And now, Louise is in business with her family, right? And I watched Stephen be inspired. Stephen was 20 years old. I watched Stephen be inspired by his mom, right? And his mom wanted to leave a legacy and build something to give back to her kids. And I watched Stephen and his wife and his kids and all of that, watch that happen in building a family business. But if you would have saw Louise when we first got started in 1999, if you would have saw Louise, you probably would have said she doesn't need WFG because she has everything going. Probably would have said that. Why do I tell you that? Don't judge people. Every single person needs the opportunity. Give her a round of applause, you guys. Then you have Christopher Slayman, right? So Christopher Slayman, you know, leader of Team Freedom, right? Christopher Slayman, I tell you, Christopher is one of my best friends, right? And Christopher, if you would have saw him when he first got started, right? He was your idea. He told you he was like a good employee, a great employee. Back then, making $150,000 a year. His wife making $75,000 a year. They're both. Were you guys dating? No. Actually, Michelle used to work for him. Right? She was one of his employees. She still works for you. She says that when she's not around, right? And then you guys know Michelle. Michelle is Ed Maulet's sister, right? So when Ed met Christopher, says, hey, if you're going to be dating my sister, right? You need to take a look at this opportunity. Because I want my sister to have a certain kind of life, right? So they started dating. So he walked away from his job, and at the time, this was back, what, 99, 2000? He walked away from his job, and he was making $150, $175, I mean, combined income with him and his wife, $225,000. And I remember I was in the base. I had just got promoted to senior marketing director, and I remember when Christopher went full time. I remember him pulling me to the side and go, hey man, is this real? Well, what are you talking about? Of course it's real, right? And it's true story. Yeah, we shifted. So we were promoted, right? So I had a queue. I was paying $130 a month for a queue. So as my queue was here, then you had Christopher's queue. Then we had this Indian guy, Dilip, and Dilip loves farting. So we would be making phone calls and be like, oh my God, Dilip again, right? So that was Dilip. And we had another guy, Selwyn Farrell. It was 4 of us making our phone calls, right? Making our phone calls and going one day. And I watched him and Michelle. They raised beautiful kids. They have a beautiful family. They built a business, right? And a couple of years ago, I think it might have been 4 years ago, we were in Hawaii. We were in Hawaii. I mean, we're just on a Hawaii trip, right? And all of a sudden, Christopher's heart attacked him, right? And he had to be evacuated, right? And he was fighting for his life. This is on a Hawaii trip. So the last couple of years, he's literally had challenges with his heart, right? And he's been fighting all of this stuff. But because he's built a business, because he spent years of investing in people, right? His business, whether he works, he doesn't work, right? He's handling his challenge, pays him $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a month, whether he goes in the office or not, right? Isn't that incredible how things can change, you guys, right? So here's the thing. The thing is, with all of these individuals here, here's what they all have in common. They all made a decision, right? And they all said, I'm planting my flag. I'm drawing a line in the sand. I'm planting my flag. This is what I'm doing long term. This is where I'm going to raise my family, right? These are where all my best friends are going to be. This is where I'm going to personally improve. These are the people that I want to be around. Not everyone's here perfect. We're all different in many different ways, but we do have one thing in common, that we all have good hearts and we want to do good things for families. Make sense? So give Christopher a round of applause. Then you have Francis and Jing, right? Most of you don't get a chance to hear from Jing a little bit. You hear from Francis. But let me tell you, Jing is extremely, extremely intense, right? So Francis and Jing, they're both nurses, right? They're both making $130,000, $140,000 a year, right? But the challenge is they don't have time, right? Because Francis's shift is a 12-hour shift, and when he comes home, Jing is on the other 12-hour shift, so they're literally, one's going out and the other one's coming in, right? But their dream, when they would dream, their dream was that they wanted to do missionary in the Philippines, and they wanted to have a family. And so when Francis saw this opportunity, actually Tita was the one that went, was it Tita? Yeah, Tita went to Jing. You know how we give these little plaques away, you make $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 part-time. So Tita's at work. So Tita's recruiting. She takes her check and she goes to Jing. She goes, hey, part-time, 4,000. Right? So 2 days later, Jing, part-time, 2,000. Right? So Jing's like, Jing goes to Francis. Now Francis is engineer mindset, right? Very technical, right? He has both sides. So Jing says, Francis, you need to talk to Tita. Tita's showing me checks every week. Go see what she's doing. So Francis gets invited to a BPM, right? He shows up to the BPM, he's not dressed properly, right? So they tell him he can't go to BPM. He can't go to BPM. Now, if you know Francis, Francis does not like to be told what to do and ought not to do, right? So he gets all offended. Maybe this opportunity is not for me. They're not even letting me in. Don't they know who I am? And Tita knows how to handle egos. She goes, no, I sit down with you one-on-one. I sit down with you one-on-one. Right? What's that? I feed you. Right? She goes, I feed you. Tita takes him out. Right? Tita takes him out. Francis sees the opportunity. This is important. He sees the opportunity. The most important thing that he does is he makes a decision. He says, this opportunity is going to give me my time, is going to give me unlimited income. I will be able to, my wife and I will be able to do our missionary, and we'll be able to have kids. And these are the things that are important to our family, right? So Jing turns around and says, I hear you talking, but right now, you make $130,000 a year, right? I will support you underneath one condition. So Francis goes, what's the condition? If you quit your job and you come full-time, you cannot make less than $130,000 doing this. And Francis goes, okay. So Francis's first year makes like $150,000, right? Makes $150,000 a year first year, right? And so we had this contest. Like I'm about to tell you guys about a contest in a few minutes. We're going to St. Martin, St. Martin. You guys want to go to St. Martin? Right. So we're in St. Martin, right? So Francis wins. Like, so he was in the crowd just like this. We announced the contest. They won the contest. So we're all excited. Francis just got his ring. Paul, all these guys, we called WFG, send the rings in, so we can celebrate in St. Martin, and we can present them with their ring, right? So we finally got the rings. So we're in St. Martin. WFG has this 10,000 square foot villa. Everything's beautiful. We got the rings. So we all get there, and we're like, Francis, give Francis a ring. Francis puts on the ring. We go to give the ring to Jing, and Jing goes, I don't want it. She goes, I didn't come here. We didn't come here to make $100,000. We were doing that at our job. I'm not wearing that. She says, no, get me the red one. So Francis is, okay. So Francis, a couple of months later, gets the red one. And Jing goes, I don't want the red one. She says, I want the green one. Because what the green one signified to her, because Jing told Francis, once you get the green stone, I will stop working and we'll be able to start our family. Right? So now they have, how many kids? 3. They have twins. Right? They have twins. They just have another one. Now their dream of doing a missionary in the Philippines, he was telling me, he was so excited. I was at, where were we at? We were at the airport, American Express Airport. So he was sharing with me his vision about the missionary and what they're doing in the Philippines and all of this stuff, which was all part of his dream, right? And then now I'm talking to him about being a missionary in the U.S., right? Because you can have both, right? We don't have just Philippines, we could be missionaries here too, right? But this couple, here's the deal too. I've watched both of them grow, right? I've watched both of them grow, right? But at the end of the day, all of these leaders right here, you guys, if I was going in a combat environment, these are the people that I would take with me in a combat environment. Let me tell you why. Not because of how much money they make. Because I've seen them at their lowest. You identify a person's character not when they're doing great. You identify a person's character on how they handle adversity. I see each one of them get major blows, and I remember watching each one of them get major blows. I said, man, I want you to get hit really fast, because I want to see who you are. Does that make sense? Because here's the deal, you guys. You're attempting to achieve what 2% of the population achieves. It's not going to be easy. You're going to get knocked out. You're going to get no's. You're going to get all this. But if your dreams are big enough, right? This is why your dreams are so important. This is why you got a dream. So at some point, right, before you leave Las Vegas, you got to have that moment to yourself. You have to have that moment with yourself where you get clarity. You go, okay, here's the deal. I made a decision. I'm at the right place, the right time, with the right company, right compensation, right leadership. This is my shot at the big time. This is where I draw the line in the sand. I make it here or I die. There's no other options. There's no other options. That makes sense? So you made that decision. So, okay, now why am I going to go do this? It's going to require a lot of work. Why am I going to go do this? Right? And there's got to be these things that inspire you. Right? And once you find out those reasons, right, whatever those reasons are, they need to be compelling. See, because if you don't have those compelling reasons, you're still going to be scared to make phone calls. You're still going to be scared to prospect. You're still going to be scared to do one-on-ones. You're still going to be scared to make kitchen table presentation because your fear is still bigger than your dreams. But see, once you have those reasons, you're afraid now, or you're afraid of something else. I'm afraid not to make phone calls. I'm afraid not to go across the kitchen table. I'm afraid not to go into my office because I know what that means, right? Now, my challenge to you, and my challenge to our team, as a leadership team, right? As a leadership team, our entire team needs to get bigger. Let me tell you the difference between Synergy Financial and the #1 team in the company right now. Right? The only difference, right? So if you look at Olson this morning, here's the only difference between his team and our team. His team is 4 times bigger. That's it. It's not rocket science, right? So here's the deal. Each one of us here, including all of these leaders, my challenge to you, you have to double the size of your team. Does that make sense? So if you showed up here with 6, you got to double it to 12. If you got 25 people here, you got to double it to 15. You want to double your income? You want to double your income? It's very easy. Double the size of your team. It's really that simple. So now, if you know that, if you know I got to double the size of my team, here's the deal. You must erase everything out of your mind but recruiting. Recruiting needs to become your first focus. What if the person that prospected Jeff Brookshire, what if his belief was like, no, this guy's good, he's got a job, he's making a six-figure income, he doesn't need this. No one ever talks to Jeff and Michelle Brookshire about the business. What if the person that prospected Tita said, oh, you know what, she's okay, she makes six figures at her job, you know, she doesn't need the opportunity, the Tita Lazan you see here is not here. What if the person that talked to Nate said, oh man, he's a young guy, he's probably not going to do anything and all this stuff, right? Never talks to him, Nate's not here, and his team's not here, right? Which is Steve Hay. What if the person, what's that? His ex-girlfriend, right? Which she quit. Does that make sense? She quit. That's called, oh, by the way, that's called the quitter's effort. My best buddy, Scott Hemp, was the one that introduced me to a guy by the name of Rick Stevens. Rick Stevens introduced me to Steve Hay. My best buddy, Scott Hemp, you know what he still does? He's still a firefighter. If he had just stayed, he would be overriding Steve, Louise Hay, this entire hierarchy he would be overriding. It's called a quitter's effort. So here's the deal. I want you to stay, but if you're gone, we're probably going to talk about you. You're probably going to be a WFG story. Does that make sense? But here's the deal, you guys. All of us that got prospected, somebody had a high belief on the opportunity. See, everything you saw this week in the last 4 days, you see all these incredible speakers, you felt the spirit, your belief must go up about how great the opportunity is. Ed Mollett, when he did my financial needs analysis, that was great. I'm making $2,800 a month. He teaches me Rule 72, blah, blah, blah. Save 10% of your income. Here's a long-term saving that if you put it away for like 30 years, one day, if everything goes right, this would happen. That was great, but that's not what changed my life. What changed my life is he gave me an opportunity. He gave me an environment. He encouraged me, praised, recognized, right? Inspired me to become better, right? Now here's what our communities need. Our communities need you. You, right? Our communities need you to rise. See, if you look at just LA, for example, LA County has 9.8 million people. The average median income is $56,000 a year. So as you look there, you go, oh, $3,000 a month is not a big deal. Really? What world are you in? It's a very big deal, right? But at the capacity, that's just a big deal, right? So I got started here because I wanted to make an extra $1,000 a month part-time, right? Now, if you can help enough people, now the question becomes, how big is your team going to be? Are you going to have 100 licensed agents, 500 licensed agents, 1,000 licensed agents? What's your goal on how many people you're going to help? If I can help enough people, if I've got 50, 100, 200, 300 people that want to make a six-figure income, and I got an opportunity, right? They go from 100 to $250,000, $500,000, to $1 million, to $2 million, to $3 million, right? That's pretty cool to go. I can't wait to see all these individuals. These are just some, right? Until they make it $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, $4 million. What automatically happens to my income? It automatically goes up. And we've got tons of EVCs in here and CEOs in here. Can you imagine what this is going to look like 5, 10 years from now? Right? And one of the things I will tell you in closing is this. None of us here are self-made millionaires. We're team-made millionaires. You know what we get a chance to do every day? We get a chance to restore hope in people. We get a chance to believe in people. We get a chance to encourage them, right? And imagine if everyone that you come across has this button on their chest that says, make me feel good, make me feel special, tell me something great about me, and tell me that my life matters. right? And you get a chance to hit that button every day. Now, here's the deal. I want to find out who's who in here. So guess where we're going? We're going to the WFG Villa. So we're actually going to get a couple of villas, right? Nate's going to get a villa. Paul's going to get a villa. And Jeff's going to get a villa. And usually whenever we go to St. Martin, you guys, there's a couple of yachts thrown in there. We're flying to St. Martin. We'll invite a couple of you, based on your numbers, we'll invite a couple of you. We'll take a small plane, 30-minute flight, short runway into St. Bart's. Anybody here been to St. Bart's before? Right. There's a little hotel on the beach in St. Bart's called the, what's it called? The Pierre, I forgot the hotel. But it's a little beautiful boutique hotel right on St. Bart's. Or hang out at the Tom Beach Hotel. We gotta go hang out at Tom Beach Hotel. Beautiful. That villa, right? By the way, most of you don't know this. Most of you don't know this, but I know how to cook. Did you guys know I know how to cook? Didn't I cook you guys dinner in St. Martin? See, I make spaghetti and meatballs, right? I made them. Yeah, I know how to cook. So we'll have a blast at that house, right? So I want you to look at the qualifications. You should already have it. It's already out. Boom. You got to make a decision that, couple of things. One, you got to qualify for Hawaii. Two, you got to qualify for St. Martin, right? Three, you got to qualify for Tony Robbins December. Make sense? Who's going to St. Martin with us? We'll see, won't we? When all said is done, usually more is said than actually done. So, but we'll see. Someone here is going to make a decision, and we're going to have a blast. Wait till you see how we travel. We have a good, Agon's motto is respect people, make money, and have fun. Does that make sense? Well, thank you guys. Hopefully you guys had a great convention. We appreciate you guys. See you guys next time. Hold on. Video. And then we're going to get all this stuff out to your social media.
Jasmine?
Oh, Stella was running after you. I thought,
we're at the lobby, okay?
Okay.
We're gonna go to the lobby and the gift shop.
Lobby, yeah?
Gift shop, yeah.
Turn up? Maya?
How's it going?
Hey. Thank you.
I'm gonna go try to get a picture.
This guy right here says he's going for MD.
This guy, not me. This guy.
Oh, you're going for
I'm
MD?
going for SMD. This guy's going for MD.
Take it easy, guys.
All right.
You gonna get it done? Thank you. See ya.
What's that, this guy?
You're the man.
I try to be.
Fitzroy House is the man.
What's that? Well, I think it said associates 30,000 points and free recruit. Okay, that's it. So one direct, it's a 4-month contest. So one direct.
No, she's supposed to go back to her